We've got an exciting show for you. Yes, worm farming, and 7 reasons why you could be missing out if you're not doing it already. Because, as you know, I'm an avid worm farmer and been doing it for a very long time. Actually, probably over a decade now. I'm losing count. And I just absolutely love what it can do. It can save you money. It really helps the planet in a huge way. It's got a massive future, and it can just grow plants like you've never seen before, and basically for free once you're already set up. So, that's what I want to get into here, is straight off the rack and straight into this content is the number one reason. And the number one reason today is because once you're set up, it's 100% free. Now, the reason why I'm saying it's not 100% free when you get started, because it depends on how you get started. You might have some people around. You might be a part of a gardening club or something like that, or know someone that's got some compost worms, and they show you how to set up a cheap DIY farm. They give you some compost. They give you a box. They give you some worms, and you're away. It could absolutely cost you nothing. Or you can go hardcore and buy the best worm farm, buy the best worms, and spend a bit of money, a bit over $100, and you're away. And then once you've got all these worms breeding and feeding and creating great fertilizer for you, they multiply like crazy, and then you can give some away. Or even better, we'll talk about what's even better about that further down in the video in some of the numbers of, as you can see, we've got the big number 7 right there below us here. And yeah, I'm coming in live, and you can watch the re-recorded show here. And what we do is I'll go through all these steps here, these 7 ones, and then we'll bring in a Q&A and some of the people as well. But what I want to do is get others to sort of interact as we're going through this video and talking about the 7 reasons why. Now, I know there's a lot of hardcore worm farmers on this channel, and they've been going, Marty, how come you haven't been making much worm content? Well, I moved my farm and everything recently, and yeah, we're expanding out and starting to get some numbers now. So, and worms are going to play a huge role in my permaculture farm here, where we've just built put up some raised beds with Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, which is going to be a video coming up in the future. So number one is it can be virtually 100% free, and it's very, very cheap to get started. And I don't know anywhere else where you can actually start making fertilizer 100% free, unless maybe you're soaking weeds and maybe soaking comfrey and making sort of those Korean farming extracts and things like that. But that's a whole other story. There are other ways to do it, but there aren't many, right? And it's hard to get to scale in that, where you can with compost worms. Once you've learned how to do it correctly, the scale is just absolutely amazing. Once you start setting up worm highways and corridors and things, it's just mental. All right, so number two is, I believe it's the best fertilizer on the planet. Now, we go back to number one because we're talking about it being free. Well, that's a really big thing, right? And because it's really sustainable, right? Because it doesn't have a big impact on the planet, and it also, every plant loves it. Now, most fertilizers you can't give to every plant. Now, this you can give to any plant under the sun. And actually, like, think about it. In our soil web in the ground where the worms are, they're dropping their castings. It's the most natural, one of the most natural fertilizers around, other than, say, like some bird droppings or animal droppings and things like that. But that actually can't work in the biosystem. It's got to break down from the top and go through, and worms are already bringing it into the layers and moving it up and down. But anyway, I don't want to nerd out too much there on that, because I'll get off topic. But what I want to say is it's the best fertilizer on the planet, in my opinion. And if you agree, give us a thumbs up, or let us know in the comments box down below. Maybe you disagree, there's some others. But think about it, if there's some others, then you might want to feed it to the worms and make it even better. And that's what I do a lot of the time. All right, so number 3, 100% sustainable. Number 4, right? Number 4, if I do this right here, practicing on my new, I'm going to fold my thumb in there. practicing on my new sort of on the software here, getting it right and ready. Number 4 is you don't need any electricity to do this stuff. You know, unless you're buying it from another worm farmer itself, and then it's getting shipped around and using up energy and fuel and all those type of things, and the person's energy to make it, then it's consumed some type of energy. But when you've got a good system, the worm farm's very close to your kitchen, then close to your garden, it's not using any energy. And it's actually making something out of energy that's already been consumed and created somewhere else, shipped around, farmed, trucked, whatever, and then you feed it to your worms, and then it turns it into one of the most wholesome forms of energy output that I believe that there is. And that's why I was saying before, if we go back to number 3, it's 100% sustainable. So number 5, right? So we're going to get number 5 here. And this is a really exciting one. And I've got some videos about raising seedlings on my channel. So if you type in raising seedlings on Marty's Garden channel, you can look on how to do this and raise seedlings with compost worms and worm castings and all that type of stuff. It's also in the Worm Wranglers members area, number 2. There's a link down below in the description for that, but we'll talk about more of that later on. So number 5, it's perfect for seedlings, and the reason why it's so perfect is because it doesn't burn their little roots. And what it does is it sets off, it's got all these different hormones and things in there that help plants get really healthy, a really healthy start, and build a really nice strong cell wall, and to build up all the energy that they need to fight off pests. And so the actual worm casting around the bottom of a seedling root actually is protecting from nematodes and things like that as well. So it has a pH neutral, doesn't burn them. It actually helps and grow for them. When you've got it growing with some some good bacteria and fungi and stuff like that, you get even better results. But anyway, we won't go too far off, because as I said, I don't want to nerd out too much. I want to put out these 7 tips for you so we can talk about them and get into them. So what do you think? Do you think it's one of the best fertilizers on the planet? Have you used it on seedlings before? Are you using it on seedlings now? And are you considering maybe using it on seedlings now? So you can let me know in the comments box down below if you're watching the rerun, or also like as the live show, which we're going to start pulling in some of the guests very, very shortly. So hang in there, guys. Just running on the software here and getting used to it. I'm going to go into another picture, right? You can see the one now. I'm holding a big, massive worm. Now, that isn't a compost worm. These are native worms that come into my system. And that what happens is when you're really breeding and feeding worms really good, the native worms come in, and those guys will also play a big role in the garden. And look at those. They are monster things, aren't they? All right, so let's go across and we will get to the next image here. This was taken a couple of years ago down at my old place. You can see a worm farm on the right there. I just harvested 1 tier of worm castings, and just getting ready to sort of just show them to everyone. I basically scatter them through my garden, use them in seedlings, put them in pots, stuff like that. And this was when I was sort of just getting ready to start selling castings and composts and starting to scale up. And it's just exciting for me to make that big mountain of worm castings. And look, you actually, there's a way to actually gather your worm castings like that, doing the mountain form, which I teach in the Worm Wranglers members area on this channel. So yeah, that's exciting. And when you're using worm castings, you only use 10%. So if you've got compost or you've got some other type of medium you're growing in, use 10% of your worm castings. You don't need to use more than that. If you're going over 20%, you're going overkill big time. So yeah, big pile of worm castings there. Black gold, a lot of us like to call it, and absolutely just brilliant stuff. So you can see why I'm saying if you're not doing it now, you're absolutely missing out. Why would you want to miss out on one of the best free fertilizers on the planet, and you're actually doing the planet a favor at the same time by becoming more sustainable and not putting your waste out into the landfill? So you're turning it back into great plants and edibles. So yeah, again, you're missing out if you're not doing it yet. So I'm trying to convince you, if you haven't started yet, you need to get going. All right, so where are we up to here? We are up to number 6. And I did mention this a little bit, but I want to get into this a bit more. So for number 6, it protects plants' roots. So what happens is a worm cast actually extracts and expands, and it holds a lot of microbes and bacteria and things like that. So it depends on what the worm's been eating, but there are a few different microbes in there that actually will protect the roots around the outside of the plant. So if you're using around about 10%, you're scattering it around the root system. When the eelworms, they call them, or nematodes, the bad ones, are coming in to attack roots, and what they do is they attack unhealthy roots of the plant systems, because that's what happens. Pests attack unhealthy plants from above, and the eelworms and bad nematodes will attack the rotting roots and things like that down below. And also compost worms will eat rotting roots and things like that too, but then they're turning it back into the manure and doing that whole thing. All right, excuse me, bit of a burp there. So we are coming in live, and I'm drinking out of my jam jar. Karen broke my glass, so my favourite glass. I thought, I'm just going to drink out of a jam jar. Why not? Good stuff. All right, so yep, they protect plant roots, and they're amazing things, and they extract and expand, and they last for around about 6 months in the soil profile or wherever you use them at a time. And so they are absolutely brilliant. Now, number 7 is, I'm going to actually have a few other ones I'm going to add to this list, right? So it really is born 7. But number 7 is they eat almost everything. So everything that's just about organic, other than they're not really into citrus. You don't give them dairy and meats and things like that. And they're not really into onion and stuff. They will eat it later on. Takes a bit longer to consume. Things that break down faster, they've got more sugars and things in them, they go for them first. Because the bacteria feeds around the outside of the sugars that are breaking down first. And they're actually skimming off the side of the food. They're not actually eating the food, they're eating the bacteria. They're starting to rot the food down and then moving out through the system. So those type of foods, but avoid meats and cheeses. You can use the other ones, but they're going to go for it last because it takes the longest for it to break down, especially citrus. It sits in that compost pile, and you'd be looking, oh wow, there's some citrus and everything's done. It's like this little shell, you know. But yeah, I've seen them eat it. All right, so let me know before we keep going on for number 8. I want to hear from you guys what you think down in the comments, and also in the comments for the live crew. We're going to start pulling some people across and get into this live show. We've been running for 12 minutes now, and we've got 8 people watching, 7 thumbs up, so thank you for that. And it was a sporadic thing. I was thinking, okay, hang on, we need to do a weekly video, and I'm thinking maybe a Friday night might be a good time to do one, and see how things roll out. So let's get this across here. And all right, so I'm just going to put this across first. And so here we go. It says, please consider supporting his channel via Super Chat, which can be found at the bottom of this chat box. Any small amount is appreciated. So thank you very much for that if you do decide to send me a Super Chat. All right, Jojo Blogs. Hey, Marty and everyone in chats. G'day, mate. Welcome to the show. And Garden Kings, he said, g'day, mate, back to you. Nice haircut. Thank you, my friend. It's normally hiding under the hat. But yeah, we've let it out for the air to shine through. G.I. Joe, gone G.I. Joe style for the summer. Hair grows pretty quick, doesn't it? Hey, Marty from sunny, frosty UK. G'day, Gene. Lovely to see you here. We got the 4 thumbs up from Joe Blogs, and a comment from Joe Blogs as well. 100% Marty, using castings, leachate and worm teas, you cannot overdose plants. That's, it's so cool. And one of the best things that I was going to say, and that was what I was going to put out in number 9, is there is no smell, right? There's no smell when it's done correctly. You can use it in your house plants even, and it just smells like an earthy smell. So if it's smelly, you're doing something really wrong, and it's gone anaerobic. All right, Dad's amazing. Good afternoon, Marty. If you write big long comments, it seems to I'm using Ecamm Live. It seems to squash it down. So I'll read it out, and hopefully everyone can read it too. Just wishing you a great evening. Very happy to see you enjoying your creative passions, mate. Looking forward to everything that is coming. Thank you, Dad's afternoon amazing adventures. He's been off in Southeast Asia cruising around and got some shots out of planes and different things. So if you want to see something like that, check out Dad's Amazing Adventures channels. And yes, he is still in Asia. And cheers to you that. I think he might even know that I lived in Southeast Asia and Karen was born in Bangkok, my daughter. So my heart is there in that place as well. Had a lot of surfing there too. All right, so pretty exciting to get this out to you guys. I figured it was time to really start pushing and talking about worm farming again. Now, what I want to do is I want to get rid of this image and pull up another image for you guys. Let's have a look at this one. Hang on, wait a second there. I'm still getting used to this software. The giant worm, look at that. That wasn't the right picture. Here it comes. The sugarcane mulch. Now, this has come out of one of my worm farms that was just like full of sugarcane. And you can use any type of bedding, any type of carbon bedding. But I've just basically just gone straight in. So that's out of the system that I call, not the biggest worm farm ever system, but the Taj Mahal. And you can see that it's all just broken down into a beautiful black humus. It's just the best stuff. And so, I could just dig in each handful, and people go, oh, yuck, oh, worms, oh. Which is fair enough if you're not into that type of thing, but there is no smell. It's not like digging into, cow manure is probably worse, to tell you the truth. But when you've got 1,000 in your hands, it does feel a bit wiggly and a bit odd. So if that's the case for you, you might want to put on some gloves, and go from there. But, what I want to do is, so read in the comments down below. And if you've got anything that you want to share with me regarding the tips and any extra tips that you think the benefits for worm farming, there is just so many. And we haven't even got into talking about the liquids yet, which is basically number 10, right? Of creating these these sort of leachates. But I don't know. I don't believe the way that I do it is actually a leachate. A leachate is something that leaches slowly through. I teach in my systems to pour a lot of rainwater through so it drains really well and it actually soaks it up, and that's how they make a lot of the worm teas in a compressed thing like this, and compress it down, and then it goes through. It's not really a leaching system. The leaching system can actually sometimes be a little bit anaerobic and not so good. You want it oxygenated, a lot of oxygen, getting all that bacteria and the good microbes and stuff, keeping them alive and breeding and feeding. And so, something like that is just full of amazing microbes. And the microbes is what helps the plants grow and helps the whole soil web. So we've got the mycorrhizae, the fungi and everything, moving the sugars up through, and the microbes and stuff. So the sun's hitting the plant leaves, sending through that energy down into the ground, and then that's setting off into the soil web and feeding everything down below, and that makes everything available to the plants. They go, oh yeah, you're getting us sunlight and energy, they're getting sugars, we're going to give something back to you. And so it creates this symbiosis, which is just amazing. And as I said right at the beginning, for number one, it can be 100% free. Now we've got to look at it one step further, and that is the storage of carbon in the systems, right? Which is really, really amazing again. All right, so we got some more people here. Aussie Grows Show. G'day, mate. Welcome to the show. Great to see you here. Phil Energy. Hi, Marty from Sunshine Coast. Thanks for your recent advice in controlling mites and little white worms using cow manure now. Yeah, you're very welcome. Hopefully that's helping for you. With any problems in worm farms, you just need to back off and try a few different things while you just slow down the feeding, and generally you can get back onto a good roll. All right, so what I want to do and talk about just before we sort of move forward, if you're interested in worm farming and you're just starting out or you haven't got started yet, I have a course in here. Now it's in the description. It's called Getting Started Starting Worm Farmer Beginner's Guide. And it has, if you become a Worm Wrangler 3, you have access to everything. If you go for number 2, you just learn about the seedlings and some basic worm farming. But the Worm Wrangler number 3 is the way to go. That's the place to be, and you will learn a lot. There's also an ebook at the Buy Me a Coffee page, which is a link down below if you prefer to read and stuff like that. And that could be that's a cheaper option for you. And or if you just want to buy me a coffee over there and support this channel and what I'm actually pushing's not the word, but what I'm trying to spread out to the world about the world of, like living sustainably, doing things free, and regenerating the land, on our homesteads, and getting more self-sufficient in our backyards, small spaces, things like that. And it's all just to do with scale. The bigger place we are, the more we can scale up with composting and worms. And we've just got a little apartment box place. We only need a little worm farm and some pot plants and things, like exactly how I started Marty's Garden after I come back from Southeast Asia. All right, so yeah, check it out. Buy me a coffee. You can get the ebook, and down below you can actually become a member and get full access to all the quick videos and learn everything you need to know about worm farming, and then you can just never come back again. But you will, because you'll love me so much. After what you learn, you'll become obsessed with worm farming, and you'll keep watching the rest of the videos here. That's the key, right? You. All right. Oh, whoa. Aussie Grow Show. Super Chat. $5 Aussie Grow. Good on, Marty. Cheers, Marty. Hero. Thanks, mate. I don't know if I'm a hero, but we have got the artificial crowd behind us, and we will give them a shoot. Here we go. Oh, they weren't very good. They're going to go again. Yes. Thanks, guys. Love you, mate. Really appreciate it. The super chat. All these little ones, these little things, I get a lot of little input here and there come in from my show and different places. So all these little bits really add up. And so thank you very much. And we'll go back to, here it is here, Starting a Worm Farm, a Beginner's Guide. That's the ebook and the course and stuff like that. And we will go on to the beginning file and pull across any questions that you may have. If you've got it, we'll do Q&A time now. So people, if they're coming in and watching the rerun, leave a question down below. I will get back to you. I answer all my questions. And yeah, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping. As you saw, one of the people in here come through, they had a comment and I had a question. I answered it for them and they turned up for the live show. Thank you very much. And happy to answer any questions. And if you've got any sort of gardening stuff, organic gardening questions, things like that, happy to answer those as well. And I think what we'll do is we'll go back to that image. Let's go back to that image of the one where I've got the sugarcane. That one just really gets me. I really love that shot. It just shows what you can do. And I feel like I'm getting a little bit better with this software too. So as I'm practicing, I'm going to roll in some videos as well, if all goes well. And so we can run slideshow videos, bring the text in, stuff like that. And then eventually we can drag in a guest. I shouldn't say that, but I guess are going to drag me. We can invite a guest and come in and be a part of the show as well. And, generally they run for about an hour. So pretty good show, I reckon, all up. And I think I need to find someone who's going to possibly be a producer in the background here at some stage and help me invite guests and look at scripts and run things in the background and stuff like that. That would be really cool if we can get to that stage. We had Mark here remember, come on guys, I'm waiting for your comments. I'm reading them there, your questions and stuff in the Q&A. Anything that you want to say from across. Now we had Mark and his son James here, and we built some garden beds. Oh, mate, we were running that hard. I didn't get time for any photos to show you guys. It was a huge day from sun up to sunrise. And yeah, running, he was creating a video, I was creating a video. We're building garden beds, planning out. We're running out of stuff. I had to run up to the co-op, go back to the landscaping yards, get the car in and out of my little tight thing. Oh man, it was crazy. But We've got some good content coming up into the future, and so the raised beds are up. So a little bit of behind the scenes information for you for coming to the live show. All right, as a newbie, so we got Fee Energy. Just let me have a little drink here. First, Fee. Hopefully, I'm getting your name right there. Forgive me if I've got it wrong. But I think it's right. Fee Energy or Fire Energy. As a newbie, I am curious where to find knowledge on identifying the worms that I see in the farm. Okay, there are some stuff in YouTube for identifying worms. I haven't done so much of it myself, but I'll let you know the most common one is the tiger worm or Acina foetida, which I've got them. I've got a couple of the species on my channel here, and it has a little yellow tip on the end of the tail, and that's the most common one that you'll see most of the time. And I think you could probably see it just where if that hand there, if you can see it on the, depending if you're looking on a big screen or TV or whatever, but there's a worm hanging down the end of that sort of compost there, and you can see a little white tip on the end. Well, it's a yellow tip. It's just the way the camera's shooting on that day. But yeah, and basically it's all about the size of the clitellum and how far the clitellum, so that's the lump part that goes just below the head. And so some of them have a different size clitellum or a flat clitellum. So when you're looking up the information, you'll check on that. And the other bit just goes by colours and stuff. But the most common one is Acina foetida, which is, some people call them tigers or reds and different names. But Acina foetida is the Latin name for it. It has a yellow tip on the end of the tail. The other big ones are the night crawlers, which are a really interesting worm, and you can tell them pretty easily once you sort of look at some different pictures and things. Hopefully that's helped you a little bit there. Okay, Aussie Grow Show. I'm happy to give you some advice to help, Marty. I'd love to have you as a guest one day also. Oh yeah, that'd be just wonderful. I'd love that. Yeah, I like to go on to some different shows. One of my dreams is to be a public speaker one day, and I believe that it may happen. Who knows? I may end up going around with Mark from Self-Sufficient Me sometimes, and yeah, talking at some events with him. But I'd love to come on to live shows, and who knows? Maybe we get you to come on one of ours as well, mate. See into the future. So yeah, awesome stuff. I think your knowledge is important. Yeah, there's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge in this area where I am, but I'm just the one that shares it mostly online and the one that's experimenting and putting it out there. And, okay, I don't really run into many people that are pushing it so much, but I believe that it really has room to grow now after speaking with councils and different things about where they want to head. And where I live in the Byron Shire, the Lismore Shire actually does that, not far from where I live, and they have a big, massive worm farming set up there on council. All right, Garden Kings. I was wondering if you have a smart way of collecting your scraps in the kitchen for the chickens and worms if they go mouldy fast. What I do, because I'm giving them something away about my life here, but I use any type of recycled containers. But every few weeks I buy a little tub of ice cream, and I just replace those. And so I use that, and it's got a lid on it, and I just throw it in there. Once it gets a bit funky, I throw it away, or I dry it out a bit, and then I use it or wash it and use it again a couple of times. But I don't really have anything spectacular to offer there, really. I wish I did have, but it's fresh. It's from the day, and then it goes out in the morning, so it's not really sitting around long enough to go mouldy. I just recommend that if you've got more than you need, you probably need to have a composting system with more carbon and be mixing it in with that carbon, and then you won't have that mold problem. I always like those the rolling, like the wheel ones that turn, the tumblers, compost tumblers. I sold mine when I moved, but yeah, they're the way to go. I'm setting up underground worm farms next. I don't have enough food for my chickens and worms. I've got to get it from other places and bring it in and stuff. Yeah, I don't usually have enough, to tell you the truth, but we're getting there. So hopefully that's answered the question. Just a basic small ice cream container with a lid. My worms have populated. So this is Jay. My worms have populated all 3 bins, the Worm Hotel, as you like to call it. Yeah, awesome. So you've got a stack system, obviously. And once so always keep in mind, so people are watching this, that once your worm farm's full, they stop breeding, and then so we've got to work out a way to move them on into underground worm farms, or move them down a worm highway somewhere where they're going into the vegetable garden under mulch and compost and stuff, where they can actually move freely. But I like moving mine into underground systems or into another farms, or letting them move out through the straw bales, and then sort of moving in and up and out through systems and things like that. We're still building that all out here at the moment, and we're about to put a sub pod into the end of one of the raised beds that Mark from Self-Sufficient Meat helped us build here. So that's great news that they're populating. You're obviously doing something right, and once you get to big numbers like that, you can also then create a lot of the juice coming out of the worm farms as well, and start using that more predominantly in the garden. So yeah, you can get only 10 to 20 litres a day from a 3-tier worm farm, no problem. All right, so Aussie grows 100% environmentally friendly gardens. They really truly are, and a lot of people don't know this, but when you go to like the big events and things where they're growing all the giant foods, well, a lot of that is done through worm farming and actually microbiology. The farmers know, and they create their worm teas and things like that, and create these organic composts and stuff to build up all the hormones and good bacteria and make these plants just grow like crazy, these giant pumpkins and things. And that's one of the secrets of how they do it. And they never they don't give it away, right? Because they want to win the next year's event. But I'm here giving it all away to you guys, so you can do that too. And if you've been following me over the years, you'd see some of the things I've grown, like the giant basil and the giant tomato plants and things like that. It's just mental, like how many kilos I'm getting off one plant. I think we did something like close to $400 of tomatoes off one cherry tomato plant last year, which is just mental, right? And that was connected up to the biggest worm farm ever system. All right, Jay, constantly laying eggs. Thus, I never have a wormlets bin for my harvest and castings. Okay, so yeah, if they're constantly laying eggs, you could think of like laying down like a little hessian blanket, and they go and lay the cocoons in between those, and you take out the blanket and move it somewhere else and start another farm that way. That's another way to do it. And you've also got worms all through the blanket as well as with the cocoons. And so that's another way to move it into a DIY system or something. But it sounds like everything you're doing is right, and you're really happy. So if we're happy, we're all happy chappies, right? We're growing some of the best food on the planet, 100% sustainable. And once we're set up, no matter how we set up, it can be ultimately free. So yeah, we just got to love that. Yep, the red wiggler is the most common one for Sina fetida. They call them wrigglers because they bounce around a lot. There's a few other worms at different types that bounce around even more than others. Deborah Jane Dixon. Hello, Deborah. Lovely to see you here. Thanks for coming to the show. Hi, Marty. My baby cos lettuce has shot up. I don't think we're eating it fast enough. I think it's going to seed. Should I put it in my compost? 100%. Do that and set up this time of year, depending on like where you are, right? Like at the moment, I've just planted some more cos lettuce because I know that in La Nina we get a lot of cooler weather, but every now and again you'll get like a week where it gets hot and it goes back to normal, and then the plants don't like it. It goes out of season, it's too hot, and it makes them bolt to seed. So we are, depending on where we are around, like in Australia and different places. I'm around the Byron Shire there, anywhere sort of north of that now. It's probably a bit late for growing cos lettuce, but because of La Nina, we just don't know. We could get 6 weeks of just cloudy and not very hot at all, and we can pull these crops off longer. So I'm just wishing on that, and if it's going to seed, it's going to go a bit bitter. So yeah, compost it, feed it to the worms, anything like that. We just want to create those recycled loops always. Deborah, we just, whatever we're growing and finishing, I feed the chickens, it goes in the worm farms, in the compost. Nothing leaves here, never goes out in the green bin. So if we work like that, you're going to be fine. And you're keeping, as you're growing these plants, they're getting better and better and healthier, building up more minerals and things like that. You're putting that back into the garden as well. So if you fed that plant rock dust and it's got the different minerals from the rock dust that you hadn't had in the garden before, it stays there because you're composting it back in the system. Okay, Joe blogs. Excuse me, just going to have a little drink here again. Mark from Self Sufficient Me is great. Great channel too. I highly recommend. Yeah, great guy. Keep an eye out for the channel. We just got to sort of, we've got to talk a little bit about when we release our video at the same time, but not too far away. I know he pretty much produces within 1-2 weeks, so we won't be too far away until you see that content come out. Really exciting. He's a great dude, man. What a lovely man. He's one of the nicest people I've met in a long time. And I'm not saying that just because he's a famous YouTuber. He actually is a really good dude. Jojo blogs. A great way to get an area going is to go to supermarkets' cool rooms, shelf aisle, get a packet of sprouts, then go home and scatter them everywhere. I remember you saying something about that before. I think it's a great idea. And you could even, if you've got a smaller space, put them in like a seedling tray, and a little bit of compost or whatever, water from the bottom up, get a whole lot of sprouts and different things growing. You could take them out and move them around. Oh, that mineral drink's getting to me. So I think it's just an awesome way to go. Let's change our picture here. We'll go back to the pile of castings, and look at that. Look at that. I'm looking fairly happy there, I guess. I've got that sort of scruffy hair thing going on because I've been out probably farming and digging around all day. All right, let's keep on rolling. Some great comments coming in now. If you've got any questions, please feel free. No comment or question is, I don't look down upon anything because we're all at different stages in our life. And if I can just help you from the very beginning as a complete beginner, always happy to answer. So don't be shy, guys. Ask away. All right. I'm following Jadam and KNF Basics. It's never entirely clear where castings fit in. I use them when creating microbe solutions and new and other tips. I don't know Jadam and KNF Basics, sorry, but it's great that you're working with the microbes and things like that. That's what we want, is people to sort of be working more, thinking about the land. So I follow this system of feed the soil, not the plants sort of thing. If you're doing it the other way around, you're feeding the plants and not the soil, you're really sort of going in reverse against how nature works, right? Nature feeds the soil, then the soil feeds the plants. And it's the same for us. Thanks, Marty. Hessian blanket, excellent. You're welcome, Jay. It's a great way great way to breed them up and catch them, make a little trap and things like that. And they actually really love that stuff. Calico cloth is another good alternative to Hessian. Yes, it is. Also, I've got in, I think it's under hacks. So if you go into the channel and you just type in hacks, it'll come up the egg carton hack. And that's a really good one too. That's one of my ultimate hacks. And if you can get hold of egg cartons and stack them on top of each other, you need to check that out. That's a really, really good one. And, so all those things, newspaper's still pretty good. The egg cartons are absolutely brilliant. My favourite is a Hessian bag, probably just because it's just easy, simple, and the worms really like it, and the bacteria seems to hook onto it quite well. And I think it actually, over time, I would say the fungi and stuff like that would attach into it as well. And it's a natural product. Unfortunately, plastic took over that, but we're hoping if plastics go out, the good old Hessian jute material comes back again. We start to use it because it's a great plant, easy to grow, and it grows in really dry climates and things like that, I believe. So bring back the jute. I say I'll be all for that. So yeah, that's a great tip. Cotton cloth, anything along those lines, organic. I've put in t-shirts that even aren't organic, and you've got the frame of something of the plastic left in it. It's so weird, but like an organic t-shirt, it just disappears. So anything at the top that's sort of organic that makes a blanket works really well. Okay, Jojo blogs, we've got another one here. How's your clay soil amending in your yard going? It's slowly getting there. The chickens have been turning it over, been throwing sort of sugarcane on top, and they've been sort of digging away a bit. I've been throwing in a bit. It's sort of not the lime, but the dolomite still. So yeah, things are coming along pretty good. My grass is growing really good after we did the chicken tractor up and down a few times. So that now that's growing better. It's putting longer roots down deeper, so it's breaking up the soil more. And then I'm mowing over and just letting that sit on top, that green stuff going back through. We're going to plant some amaranth and some sunflowers and things, so deep-rooted plants around the place to start getting roots down into the structure and breaking it up. So it's going to take a while, but we are getting there. And as I said, we've got the raised beds now. So that's a new way to garden, and also the sugarcane bale gardens on top, and the bale gardens on top of the clay. Big worms are coming up, big native worms are coming up into the systems now. So they'll be doing some super burrowing, and the compost worms are starting to go into those systems as well. But the main one that break up the soil are those big earthworms that come up and through and come up into the bale. Now inside my raised beds, I've actually used bale and wood chip carbon, so from the trees and leaves and things. So the big worms are going to come out of the soil and up into those systems as well. So really excited about that. And yeah, so it is coming along, mate. We're planting some native trees and things, and permaculture rows and stuff. So it's happening. We just got to take a bit of time. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to step back, do some filming of the early stuff, and then create a series of like every 3 months or something like that. So it's like, and then goes into a year or something, or it could just be I just film it and you don't see it at the end of the year, but it's the whole version of that whole year of what we achieved in the year. G'day, Rick. Thanks for saying hello the other day. Send the comment, see how I'm going. Really appreciate that. I'm doing pretty good, mate. I'm here with me little drink. I've got it's not alcohol, even though it's Friday night. It's just a little mineral water. And no, I appreciate you checking in on me, mate. So thank you very much for that. And I hope you're doing well too, buddy. And if you've got any questions now, we can move into the Q&A. That's not a problem at all. It's a great way to actually help you guys while I'm here. If you've got any questions to do with any type of organic gardening, worm farming, composting, anything about questions about on my channel or what I'm doing here at Marty's Garden. And yeah, I'm happy to answer anything at the moment. And we're enjoying our time together on a Friday evening. 14 people here, 19 thumbs ups, which is really cool. And hopefully I'm able to make these productions well enough so people will stick around longer and watch the rerun much longer. And when you're actually throwing in really good questions and getting involved and things like that, people really like it when they're watching the reruns too. And maybe even you guys that are in the live shows come back and watch the rerun. I'm not too sure, but we may look at keep doing a Friday night for a while now, up until maybe Christmas or something like that, and see how things go. I've got to bring out, I'm trying to bring out one video a week and then do one live show, maybe a couple of shorts, and make that sustainable. I'm also filming the surf when it's good. I've got my other channel. It's called For Those Who Surf, and we've got 15 videos on there now, and we've had 75,000 views, and I think about 325 subscribers. I've never really fed anyone out from this channel much. Never really told many people about it in any of the videos, just occasionally in these live shows. If you're into surfing, maybe you want to go and check it out. For Those Who Surf is the name of the channel. All right, compost question. You, Ryan, yes or no? I got a good story for you, Rick. So I went to a permaculture place once and had a bit of a walk around, and they do courses and stuff like that there. And I was just checking it all out, going, oh yeah, this looks pretty good. I like this. And then I've gone, oh, I need to go and do a wee, So they've gone to the toilet this way, gone down, and they had a bale, right? And it just said wee here, and so you had to wee onto the bale. So because it's so full of nitrogen, and it's the material, which is carbon, soaks up that nitrogen so quickly that So the answer is yes, my friend. Definitely yes. But if you're just weeing in the one spot all the time where it's like heavy compact clay or something like that, maybe not so good. But on top of some good carbon, definitely the way to go. And we've got an answer from Joe Blogs here. Yes, Rick, you're on. Yeah, he agrees. All right. So if anyone's got any comments they'd like to leave down below, you're watching the rerun, let me know if you actually got even this far into the rerun. I'd love to know if you did. Let me know in the comments box down below, because we're into about 45 minutes now, and Friday night in Australia, so it's Sydney time, 8 o'clock as we speak. My daughter's in playing video games, and I'm just sitting in my room here, which is my makeshift office, and hopefully everything seems to be working well, like the microphone, the cameras. We've got the slideshow sort of working as well, and there is that big massive worm again, and there's the ebook, Starting a Worm Farm Beginner's Guide, which is also in video course inside this. So everything's down in the links if you want to access the ebook or you want to access the video course. It's all easily accessed via that. All right, so let's go back to the hand pile. No, I've only got 3 images. Sorry, guys. But we'll work on it in time. I want to use my own photographs and things like that. And I never realised I'd be doing something like this in the future. So we need to get a little bit more behind the camera. The shootouts would have been great if I could have got a slideshow to show you from the build with Mark from Self-Sufficient Me. That would have been a lot of fun. But, we learn as we go. So remember, if you've got any more questions, love to hear them from you. Anything you would like to ask, anything at all, or simple, just anything simple, or even really complex, I'll have a go at it and do the best that I can. But thank you so much, everyone, so far for coming and checking out the show. If we don't get any more questions, we'll finish up at around about 50 minutes, and we'll play off the song, the theme song, and sort of go from there. And then we'll rock back next Friday night, 7:15 at the same time. But we've got a little bit more time up our sleeve, and I'd be happy to answer any more questions. I'd love to hear also if this is coming in loud and clear for you guys. Someone told me they couldn't hear it real well the last live show, so I've turned it up a bit without getting that sound, on the microphone. I use a semi-professional mic, the Blue Yeti. It seems to work pretty good. I had to change the settings back because Karen's been using it for the gaming. I told her she's got to get her own microphone. She keeps grabbing this one. She's got the money too to do it at the moment for all her birthday money. But anyway, we'll see. Next question. Mrs. Wobbles. Can I make dirt cheap soil work? Okay, yes, you can. But you need to get, if you've got access to some cow manure or something like that, yep, you can. Now, cheap dirt soil, basically, if you're getting it in bags and things like that, it could be like just wood bark and sort of like sticks and twigs and things like that. If you put some worms into that and a blanket over the top, start throwing in a bit of compost food, they'll go through that stuff. That a lot of that, and this, the only really cheap dirt soil stuff is years ago when they were building, they would go through and they would actually scrape off the top of the soil to level off the ground to make the building. Then they would sell that soil, that subsoil, be full of everything, whatever. Sometimes it'd be really good stuff and you'd get a great deal. But generally the cheap stuff now is just it's either sawdust that's been broken down a bit, or some wood chippy dust sort of stuff that comes out of mills and things. So, if you put some worms through it, throw some compost food into some organic matter into it for the worms to eat, you can turn it into really, really good stuff. It just takes a little bit of time, or compost it in a tumbler or in a small stand-up sort of system. So anything in this cheap dirt, you can add more organic matter to it in some way. It will get better. Okay, so great question. So thank you, Mrs. Wobbles. The energy. Hey, Marty, I've started my first tier and the worms are breeding. The castings are coming along, but I have no worm tea or liquid. Soil is not dry, not wet. Just check if take the tap off. I throw them away, and then just sort of put a bit of water in and see how long it takes to come through. And if it's, just don't it's got to be blocky structure, not compacted. So if it's blocky structure where there's bits sitting on top of each other and there's air pockets in between, it's going to flow much better. Over time, as the worm castings get more compacted and the worms eat more and it becomes more castings, it becomes more compacted, and you've got to fluff it back up again, or you've got to take it out and rebuild again. So and you can grab that tier, the one that's got a lot of castings in it, and just move it to the top maybe and move them down, or however you want to sort of move them around the farm. But just remember, more blocky structure, the better the water flow and the more liquids you'll be able to get from it. So you should be able to throw in a bucket of water and within 10 minutes get a bucket out, right? That's the flow that we're really looking for. Thank you for letting me know, Deborah, that we're coming in nice and clear. I've just got in my software, I can see some different things around me. I have these little windows open that shows me my microphone and my slideshows and where people are chatting and stuff like that. And I'm still getting used to it all. It's taken me a bit of time because I've got dyslexic, but we're getting there. And it's just really good to be able to get online and share with you guys again. It's been a while since I made a video, and I just want to get out and share this thing about, if you're not worm farming, you're missing out. Basically, you should be doing it now, and really start moving forward with it, because I'm going to be teaching more and showing more what I'm going to be doing here now that we're starting to get to scale here, and it's going to be awesome. Within the next year, the stuff that you're going to see coming out of this place is just, it's going to be really incredible, like nothing I've ever done before, because I haven't had a permanent place. I've been a renter for all my life, so now I'm still renting, but this is a permanent rental. Okay, right, let's go here. Jojo blogs. I drove a large 4-inch nail into a plum tree, and the following years the plums went from yellow to red, and the leaves now have a blue hue colour in them. I've heard that putting the nail in, there's iron in the nail, and so it's similar to like feeding the plants iron. But just remember that when you're feeding soils and things like that, we just want to think about, when we build up the good microbiology, and you probably know this, Joe, is that as we build it up, those things start to appear, to all those different minerals and stuff. But red soils, where I live around here, the red soils are full of iron, because that's why they're red. They go rusty, right? So, and they're less in boron and other things. But that's a good one to do, and I've heard of that happening before. I've never done it before. I'd love to do it in those trees where you get the maple syrup out of, because I like honey and stuff like that. That's what I'll be doing it. Rick, Marty, what's the weather been like in Byron? Hope it hasn't been too wet. We don't need more food shortages. I know, man. Well, Mark's further north. He's right up Sunshine Coast way, and they grow a lot more food, so they're just north of him. So around us, the food that we get mostly is grown and then sold locally. So it's a very local economy. But the food that comes down Sydney and spreads out is more in the winter times. It's grown more sort of north of Sunshine Coast, right up until below Townsville and stuff. So it gets a bit dry even up around Townsville and stuff like that. So they might be growing more food up there. I don't really know. I need to look into it a bit more. But hasn't been too wet. We've had a few days of sunshine, but we're getting 4 days of rain, 3 days of sun at the moment. So we'll just have to keep plugging away and see. We're still in La Nina, and just don't know. Really don't know. I'm growing both crops. I've got corn in. It mightn't be sunny enough for corn, but I'm also growing, when I wouldn't be growing corn and lettuce at the same time with tomatoes normally. And it's even getting too hot maybe for cucumbers, but I think we'll be able to grow cucumbers right through the whole season here. So I speak with Mark, he's saying, no, we've got to back off on those ones now. It's getting too hot up there. But here further south, you can pull it off. So, yeah, La Nina's really whacked everything out of sort of balance, but hopefully everything comes back to normal. Rick Thalane, Mrs. Wobble's coffee grounds, veggie scraps, some browns, even some shredded paper and cardboard just to add a little water. Great tip, mate. Thanks, Rick, for sharing that. And Jojo blogs, be careful with purchasing bag compost because premium only means it supplies premium product, which may be still full of toxic chemical matter, harmful on roots. Very true, and so I produced that video about the chicken stuff being harmful. We do have to be careful, but generally you find if you get used to a certain product, it can be okay without putting too much fear into people. But it's a tricky one, right? But I find that sometimes some of these composts that we buy in the bags, I just release a little bit of worms into them. And if they don't die and they're okay, then I'm like, oh, that's okay. And then I release more, and then I'll go buy some more of that. So sometimes I test things like that. I don't release too many worms because if it kills the worms, it's full of crap and stuff. So then we know, you know. Okay, how are the chickens? The chickens are good, man. I had to actually, if you watched how I sort of moved them, like that spot where they'd moved, I had to, because the weather's been so weird, I had to open that back up again, so they've got a bigger spot again. So they're in the old spot that they were, and the last two spots have sort of joined up together into one. And I'm going to move them around the side of the house and do some weeding and things, but just lack of time. But because they got more space, they can't really damage too much that one area in one lot. So they're pretty happy. It's been a chicken hawk or something around, and they've been a bit spooked. A chicken hawk. I've been watching too many cartoons when I was a kid. We don't have chicken hawks here, but there's been something around flying up high, and they go and hide under the trees, and they've got plenty of places to sort of hide away if they feel a bit spooked. But they're pretty good. They're happy and healthy. Karen takes care of them every day, as well as myself, and they're spoilt little chickens. And we had eggs with bacon and eggs for dinner tonight, straight from the garden, which is pretty good. Deborah Jane Dixon, I'm very happy with my 2 worm farms. They're getting through a lot more scraps. The rest goes to the compost. I've learnt so much from your channel. Well, thank you very much, Deborah. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate your ongoing support. You've been amazing as well, and it's just great being able to share my information with everyone here, including yourself, and my experiences. And as we sort of rebuild out this new permanent space here, going to be learning even more and sharing out even more, and it's just really exciting. And now I've made this sort of connection with Mark up the coast, and he's 3 hours away, so I might be going back up there to film just after Christmas, maybe do a bit of a tour around, have a bit of a barbie and stuff like that, and show you his place. And we're also going out to Pepe Fassos, 560 Farms at the back of Lismore, where they got the big floods. He's actually went into becoming a certified organic farmer now. So we'll probably be going out there and doing some filming out there soon too. And so some homesteading stuff, worm farming stuff, self-sufficiency stuff, all mixed in with the worm farming and the expanding out of this place. It's pretty good times ahead. So thank you, Deborah, and everyone here. Now we're going right on to 1 hour now. So what we normally do is, if you're in the show, please say goodbye to your friends in here. We've still got 9 people watching, 24 thumbs up. Appreciate each and every one of you. Say goodbye to me. As I said, make sure you say goodbye to your buddies in here that are chatting as well. Great community here in Marty's Garden, and I really do love you all. I'm going to put on some music now. We've got the theme song by Michael and Michael Shanes. I can't get his name right. To the River. And it's a great song. And I'll just scroll across your comments as you're saying goodbye to friends and to myself with the music as we go. And then I'll give you a little bye for now at the end. So let's keep the music going. That's not the music. That's the wrong one. Here's the song, guys. Love it.
To the river we go. Leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know. Sometimes the perfect words are never said. I spilled my coffee, I Don't feel like talking, my worries just keep growing by the day. I need a moment where the green and blue appear, to spin a rock and watch the ricochet. To the river we go, leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know, sometimes the perfect words are left unsaid. You could change your mind when you're intertwined with the water and the waves. As I grow older, well, that boat I'll never sail. It works better than the pills the doctor gave. And with that old fishing pole, I still catch 'em by the bucketful. The kids are helping on the grill and sneak a taste. To the river we go, leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know, sometimes the perfect words are never said. You could change your mind.
Well, what a great show. Thank you so much for coming and checking it out. I'm going to be here 7:15 Sydney time next Friday. Like I said, we'll try and run it right up until Christmas, and then we'll see how things are going from there. But definitely we're going to be here, unless for some reason I've got a flu or something like that. If that's the case, I'll put a post out and let people know that I won't be making a live show on that night, and I'll try and improve them each week. But remember, yeah, 7:15 Sydney, Australia time, we'll be back here, and we'll be talking about everything about being sustainable and growing amazing fresh food at home. Everything from worm farming to permaculture to homestead, self-sufficient living, and who knows, we might even try and get a special guest on real soon. I'll see if I can line someone up for next week even. Have a great day, happy everything, and we'll see you at the next video, vlog, well, live show, any of those real soon. And yeah, it's a great song. Thanks, V. Have a good one. Bye for now. See you guys. Love ya.